Hi, everyone. We'll give it just a second to let everybody join and we'll get started. All right, welcome to CNS Connect webinar series. My name is Amy Smith and I'm the Director of Certifications for the BCNS and the ANA. And today I am joined by Alyson Roux, who is going to share her expertise with us about Lights, Camera, Nutrition, mini film school for nutritionists to help your social media and educational content. If you're a CNS, you'll earn 1 CE for today's presentation, and I will put a survey in the chat towards the end of the webinar for you to collect that. We also have a chat and a Q&A. Feel free to add stuff to that as you would like. And also, if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you if there's any questions that come up. And I think there's going to be some interaction. So please feel free to raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to add. So let me introduce our speaker today. Alyson is a clinical nutritionist who specializes in behavioral nutrition, specifically chronic dieting disorders, mental health, and co-occurring gastrointestinal, hormone, and metabolic health conditions for those in recovery from eating disorders. With her background working in the arts and entertainment industry, Alyson has special interest in working with artists and health behaviors. She's a co-founder of Nutrition Hive, which is a multi-state insurance-based functional nutrition group practice offering weight-inclusive care to clients with a variety of clinical needs. Alyson is also a co-founder of Clinicians Incubator, which is a CNS supervision program and offers postgraduate education for emerging nutrition professionals. And she also served as a member of the Credentials Council for the Board for Certification of Nutrition Specialists. So let me turn it over to Alyson and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. So today it's the first week of August. Some of us might be coming back from vacation. Some might be about to go on vacation. We thought this would be a perfect time to have just a really fun webinar that talks about a topic that probably, unless you went to film school, you might not know much about. So hopefully today you'll learn kind of top tips and tricks when it comes to how to make a video look, sound professional, and hopefully we just have some fun while we do it. So if you're up for some interactive participation, I will need a volunteer at one point, and we're gonna just be having some fun practicing saying a little script together. So let me get my slides going here. So today we're going to go through kind of what I'm calling a mini film school. And so before I became a CNS, I worked in the entertainment industry. And before that, I did go to graduate school for directing. And when I went to graduate school and when I was working in the industry, you learn the basics of how to coach performance, also about lighting and sound and production. And so today we're going to go over some of the kind of like tips and tricks that I think that unless you went to film school, you probably just haven't been aware of. And the thing is, on social media, there are so many people out there, and even on other kinds of search platforms that are specifically looking for health professionals, like health profs, for example. There are a lot of people who post videos on that platform as well. And so today we're going to focus on how to help clients find you, connect with you, and schedule with you, because it's really easy to get clicks and likes and people to engage with your videos. But what we really want is to start that connection with another human through our videos. And so there's a difference between just kind of being a talking head like a newscaster, very formal. It might sound very professional, but it doesn't necessarily allow for connection. And the polar opposite, we might also potentially be so informal or potentially awkward that also doesn't help somebody really connect with you. And so hopefully today you'll learn some fun tools to help establish that connection through your online videos and help you stand out. So we're breaking it down really into 3 sections, and then a main objective. So we're going to talk about the script. And I'm going to teach you some tools that actors use with a script when they're preparing to deliver lines. So essentially, we're going to talk about what's called script analysis and tools of the trade thereof. We're then going to talk about the performance. And so you're going to learn how to play with language, your breath, your gestures to bring just ease and authenticity and connection to your video recordings. Then we're going to do a little bit on production. So you'll learn lighting, audio, and video recording tips. I'm not going to go too much into editing because we've got a lot of options there, but I will be talking a little bit about editing. The main objective of today is that you're going to be able to map out a get to know me video for social media. And you may have done these before. You may want to do probably a new one every few months just to keep things fresh out there. And hopefully these things help with that. Some of these tools, I think, also help with delivering webinars. So if you like to teach and if you like to put together webinars for potential clients or for group programs, some of these tools are probably going to help with building your webinars as well. But the focus will just be for the sake of learning these concepts on that initial get to know me video. So on social media, you can tell the difference between folks who are really putting on a performance and it feels very fake. And then there are folks who potentially are really terrified and awkward, and maybe that's getting a little too authentic. So we're trying to find the happy middle where we're professional, we're grounded, we're breathing, we feel really connected to the language that we're saying, and we're able then to really connect with people through the video. There's so many people on social media and on other search platforms like Health Profs that have video content, and some of them don't have the same credentials that you all have. Some of them have similar credentials, but we're not just going to stand out because of our credentials. We're going to stand out because you are you, and there's only one you, and you are good enough. That is actually a phrase that one of my old teachers, who was one of kind of the long-standing acting teachers in the United States, used to say, you are good enough. And so that is kind of the core principle of going into taking language and speaking on camera. So let's jump in and talk about the script. The first concept we're going to learn is the concept of beats. And then we're going to talk about objective. Now, you've probably heard maybe even jokes about what the concept of an objective is before for an actor. When an actor says, "What's my motivation?" That's objective. So when you're saying something, usually as humans, we have some kind of objective pretty much all the time, whether it's super conscious or subconscious. And so being able to understand what your objective is throughout your script is really helpful. And we're going to go through and talk about how to connect that to the beats. So a beat is a unit of plot or story. When you connect a bunch of beats together, you have a cohesive story. And you can have connected beats even with a monologue or within a scene or an act of a play or of a television program or a movie, or the entire play has a connection of beats throughout the whole thing, or the movie has a collection of beats throughout the whole thing. That tells the whole story, the beginning, middle, and end. And within the beginning, middle, and end, there's little beats within each section. So examples of what beats would be, you have an actor who's playing a character. The character picks up a bowl of blueberries off of a table, and they offer it to their scene partner, the other character in the scene. That's beat one. Beat two is then they say, "It's healthy." And then they start singing a song about blueberries to the other person in the scene. So those would be three separate beats of a scene. Here's an example of Shakespeare, Julius Caesar, and the Brutus monologue, and broken down into beats. And so when an actor's working on a script, they literally take their script and they write all over it and they break it down into beats and they make notes within each beat so that they understand the beat even more. What that does is it then takes the language out of being just completely intellectual, but it brings emotion, it brings story, it brings connection to that language. And this is something that I think can be really helpful to do, especially if you're doing talking head videos, like explaining your specialty in nutritional genomics, for example, and you're talking through a particular pathway. That is very heady material for your typical health consumer. And your objective is typically to get that person to schedule sessions with you. So you got to break down what you're saying into beats so that you can think about within each beat of the story that I'm telling, what do I really want to have happen and how are the beats connected? So that brings us to objective. And with the objective, essentially, this is that classical joke of an actor saying, "What's my motivation?" And with each beat in a script, an actor is playing an objective. If you don't play an objective as an actor and you just say they're healthy with no kind of affect at all, it's completely neutral, that's very boring to watch. So when you play they're healthy, when you're handing someone blueberries and saying they're healthy, and you're playing that, you want the person to survive, then all of a sudden, handing blueberries and telling someone they're healthy has a totally different context and meaning to it. And the people watching you don't know that that's what you want, that you want that person to survive. But it just makes it so much more interesting. So, the idea of playing an objective with language can make that language feel more alive, more interesting, more connected. And objectives are one of typically three things. We want the person that we're talking to do something. That's the strongest type of objective. To think something or feel something or understand something. So when we're talking about making a talking head video on social media, or even if you're building slides for a webinar, think about what is your objective? What do you want your viewer, your scene partner, your audience to do, to think, feel, or to understand? And if you keep coming back to your script or keep coming back to your slides or your language, and you check in with each beat and identify with this beat of my story, I want the viewer to do this, to feel this, to understand this. It then takes it out of getting your mouth around methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase and into more of, I want this person to know I can help them. And so it can make language then feel just a lot more connected because it brings it into your body. We're going to play with this in a little bit, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. So let's take our blueberry beats and then connect it to objective. So say we have the beat, the character picks up a bowl, why is that hard to say? I should have written something else. Bowl of blueberries off a table and offers it to their scene partner. In that moment, the character wants the other person to feel cared for. I want them to feel cared for. That is impacting. That's what I'm thinking as I move the blueberries. Then I say, it's healthy. I want them to eat the blueberries. That's what I want them to do. That's why I'm saying it's healthy. And then I start singing a song about blueberries because I just want them to tell me I have a nice voice. So you're going to sing a song in a different way if you want the other person to tell you have a nice voice versus if you're trying to soothe them or make them feel sleepy. So you can take these beats and we can play with them. Picking up a bowl of blueberries and offering it to a scene partner, you could want them to know that you're mad at them and to say they're sorry for what they did to you at breakfast. So that would change how you pick up the blueberries. When you say it's healthy, maybe you're implying that you think that they don't eat healthy the rest of the day. And so you're trying to make them feel shame. So that would impact how you say it's healthy. And then, singing a song about blueberries, maybe you need them to say, do you need help? That's what you want them to do. And that's why you're singing your song. So we've got our beats of the story. We've got our objectives, and you can play with the objectives until they make the most sense to you for the story that you want to tell. And I know this seems really silly because we're just talking about blueberries, but we're going to now connect this to an actual script that you can use for your social media videos. Before I move on, I just want to check in and see if anybody has any questions about beats and objectives. Or does anybody want some blueberries? So, okay. So now we're looking at a script. I wrote a little script here that basically is kind of your general script that you often see nutrition providers use for their social media intros. Hi, I'm Sally. I'm a certified nutrition specialist based in Boston. I help people struggling with bloating, reflux, and uncomfortable digestive distress by using nutrition science, tailored dietary strategies, and evidence-based supplementation. Join me in the pursuit of vitality, balanced metabolism, and improved well-being. Schedule a consultation on my website now. So, in terms of this script, and you can drop this in the chat, what is the whole point? What is the whole point of the entire story? What am I trying to get the viewer to do? What is my objective? Schedule a consultation. Exactly. Yes, that is the main, that's where we're landing. So in terms, exactly, schedule. Yeah. So that's our arc. The whole time we're connecting to schedule with me now. Schedule on my website now. And so if you want, we can break down the story into essentially a template. This is a very common template form that if you've watched a lot of nutritionist intro videos, as I have done as research for this presentation, that they all kind of are the same. And they often start with, hi, my name, I am this certification, I am based here, and I help people with this symptom, and this symptom by using intervention, buzzy word intervention. Come join me, I will help you feel better. Schedule a consultation call or a discovery call or intake today, and here's how to do so. So, if it's helpful, if you've been kind of struggling or trying to figure out what is the template or secret sauce, so to speak, of what a welcome intro video looks like or sounds like, or what the script could be, you're welcome to screenshot this. We'll also be sending out the slides after the presentation today. But this is a pretty solid template if you're going to be writing your script for your get to know me nutrition. I'm a nutritionist on the internet video. So let's take our script that we use, Sally, and let's break it down into beats. So we've got the first beat here of the introduction. And then we've got a half beat and another half beat that come together with sentences. Just because it's one sentence, it doesn't mean it's a complete and full standalone beat. This is a really good example because this first half of the sentence is very much about the clients and what they're experiencing and struggling with. And the second half of the sentence is, how we help the client feel better. So while this is telling one important larger beat together, it really is split into two different beats. And then we have the beat of the story where they're going to feel so much better, and here's all the things that they're going to get to experience. And then the last beat of call to action, schedule with me now. And so when we break this down into beats, we can start then connecting it to what is the objective of each beat. Again, maybe you're thinking right now, wow, this is really getting in the weeds. This feels totally unnecessary. Why don't I just say the words? Because sometimes when we just say the words, it might sound polished, it might sound professional, but it might not feel truly connected. And I do think in the world of a ton of people being on social media and making video content, we want to try to make our videos feel really connected. And this is an activity that can just help you feel a lot more closer to the language and make it feel a lot more connected. So that first beat we have, the objective there probably is, I want the viewer to feel welcomed, and I want them to feel safe with me. And then when we talk about all the symptoms that a client is experiencing, I want them to feel understood. I want them to feel potentially even validated, to feel not alone. And then I want them to know that I can help them. That's the next part of that sentence. I understand you, and I can help you. I want you to know and understand that I can help you. And then I want them to get excited about getting help and feel hope. I want them to feel excitement and hope. And then I want them to schedule the consultation. So we're all going to that point. So I see a question in the chat. Do you usually start with the objectives and then develop the beat/script? That is such a great question. So I think that you could really start in whatever way makes sense for your brain. I tend to start with a script and then sometimes build out the objectives, and then start with the script, beat it out, do the objectives, and then I'll move the script around when I realize that the way the beats are landing or the objectives are landing, that isn't necessarily the story that I want to tell. And then it's your script, you're in charge, you're in charge of everything here, so you can make it work for you. But if you want to work backwards, I think that's awesome, and I think that would work really well. If you think about the objective of this video is I want people to feel safe and I want them to schedule an appointment with me, then write out that story and then write the script that works to that story. That's a beautiful way of working. And I think that when we think about all these potential tools and ways to play with how to build the script and connect to the script, it just allows you to be so much more creative and find language that feels more like you. I really tried to pick very neutral, very kind of standard. I'm a nutritionist language. This is very middle of the road. This is definitely not as personalized as if I was writing a video for myself. But I wanted to pick something that hopefully all of you see at least one word in this script that you connect to, where you're like, I would say that word in my introduction video. So maybe this gives you some ideas of, if these are your beats, how would your script look? What language would you use? Any other questions about beats and objectives? This is also really helpful, I think, for webinars, especially if you're communicating potentially complex health science material. Check in. What is the objective of the slide? What do you want the viewer, the audience, the participant to be able to do, think, feel, or understand when they have actually seen and heard you, deliver the presentation? So sometimes it helps to kind of go through the objectives of each slide as well, if you're building something that's a little bit more complex, or if you're trying to put together some kind of group education. So this is definitely, script analysis, I think, is a tool that we can apply to not just our social media videos, but a lot of our education content as nutrition professionals. So great question. So we got a question in the group chat. Do you have to write out a whole script, or can you use an outline and subpoints in a similar way? That's such a great question. So I think you can totally use an outline. That is fine. Sometimes if I'm doing a real quick video and it's for myself, I'm going to do an outline because I feel comfortable with that. There are certainly folks that are on our team who really like having a script, and that really helps them feel grounded. And so it is absolutely whatever supports your brain and your body to feel grounded and centered when explaining what you need to explain or connect with your audience in the way you need to connect. So you can totally have an outline. It does help even if you have an outline of information, because a lot of what we do as healthcare providers and nutritionists, we're just kind of listing a lot of information, and we want to make sure we're not just a talking head, and that there is some kind of connection to an objective with that information. So whether you're using an outline or an actual script, it's totally up to you. Sometimes, I'll be honest, some of these platforms, you're making 15 to 20-second videos. That is tight. And so, that we might want to script it out, or at least kind of gently script it out so that you have read it a couple times and you're like, okay, I can actually say this in 15 to 20 seconds. And that's different from when you're making longer explainer videos. So it totally depends on the type of video you're making. Whatever you do, I think it's helpful to know to have this kind of tool to just write out the objectives and have some fun with that and play with it. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. So speaking of playing, we're now going to play a little bit with parts of our script. So when you're delivering a script or an outline, whatever you happen to be delivering, you can play with what is my target? What is my objective? Adjust the objective, play with it, get creative with it, see how that changes your delivery. There's a difference between saying pass the broccoli when it's maybe your birthday, you're around people you love and everybody's getting along and it's been a beautiful day and you just want the broccoli because you want to eat the broccoli. That's a big difference between how you're going to say pass the broccoli if you don't like anybody at the table. You don't want to be eating there. You've had broccoli every day for the last 27 days. You're going to say pass the broccoli a little bit differently. So you can play with how you say it. You're also going to say pass the broccoli a lot differently if you're saying it to somebody that you maybe, want to get a job from or work with, it changes the quality of how you say something. Your breath, you can play with your breath. You want to make sure you're breathing. If any of you do yoga or any kind of breath work or Pilates, you probably have played with being connected to your breath in an intentional way. A lot of us probably do that kind of work with our clients as well. And so check in with your breath, play with where am I going to place my breath? Where am I going to take a deeper breath versus a quicker breath? And that might really change how the language comes across. You can also play with timing, how quickly you say something, how slowly you say something for emphasis. The classic joke, placing the emphasis on the incorrect syllable, but we can play with the emphasis on which syllable of the word you're playing with. But of course, it's going to change how the language comes across. And then intonation. So if your inflection goes up or down, that will all change how language is interpreted. Playing it with it this way is very technical. It can feel sometimes too technical, but how can we get at playing with these elements of voice and communication with tools that are a lot more connected and more fun, but result in different variety of breath and timing and intonation? So we're going to do a little bit of play. So this is going to be our script section that we're working with today. And I would love to see if anyone would volunteer right now to be our actor nutritionist. Brave soul. We're just going to do a little bit of improv with this script. So the script will be up. Anybody want to volunteer?
If anybody's willing, raise your hand and I can unmute you. And somebody should volunteer.
If no one volunteers, it can be the Alyson Amy show.
No one? Oh, here we go.
Other
Amy's got it. Okay, here, Amy, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you're welcome. If you want to turn your camera on, you can. You don't have to, because we're playing with voice right now. So Amy, I'd love for you to just read this part of the script. Just read it to us in a very factual, professional way.
Okay. I help people struggling with bloating, reflux, and uncomfortable digestive distress by using nutrition science, tailored dietary strategies, and evidence-based supplementation.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So Amy, I would love to hear about a time recently where you had a really wonderful day. Like you had brunch with friends or you went on a vacation. Something happened that was just like really lovely. Is there anything that happened recently where you're like, this feels nice. This is really nice. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. Yeah, the other day I live by a lake, nearby a lake, and I met up with my friend Joe, and we walked down to the lake and went for a swim. And afterwards, we had lunch. And yeah,
Awesome. What was the
and
water
left.
like? Yeah, what was the water like?
Yeah, good question. It was really refreshing. It's cold, but not too cold, and it's like a deep turquoise, and it's super refreshing and very clean. It's the cleanest lake in actually in Europe. It's the cleanest lake in Europe. So
Oh my gosh, it sounds
super
amazing.
beautiful.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to think about that lake and what the water felt like and just hanging out with your friend and spending quality time and hold that in your body. Try to see if you can feel that in your body and take a breath and now read the script.
I help people struggling with bloating, reflux, and uncomfortable digestive distress by using nutrition science, tailored dietary strategies, and evidence-based supplementation.
Awesome. That was really beautiful. That felt, it was very, very connected. Did you feel different to you?
It did, yeah, thank you. This isn't something I would normally volunteer for, so this is a really good exercise to see how different it felt. I was pretty nervous the first time.
Well, I am so grateful for you for doing this. This is awesome. That was so cool. That was a big shift. Did everybody see that shift? That was really awesome. So that was using a memory, a recent memory that also was very visceral. And that can really help your nervous system in terms of getting into a place where you're living in your body and then that place feels really nice and safe, and then you can get your mouth around the language, which is a different quality. And it's less about the digestive distress, right? It's more about how can we just make this language feel accessible and comfortable. So Amy, can we play a little bit more in a different way? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. So now I want you to, let's come up with a hypothetical. So I want you to imagine that. So do you live in Europe? First off, are you like, do you live in Europe, Amy? Is that where you are?
I do. I live in France.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. That sounds so nice. So imagine that you are you're about to host a dinner party and you are trying to get everything you need from the market and you're running 30 minutes late and somebody that you love, like one of your best friends, is at the market too, and you didn't invite them to the dinner party, and you have to just like get out of there, and they see how much food you have, and it's really obvious you're hosting a dinner party and you don't want them to know. Okay. So
Okay.
now try to imagine that, and now say the script.
I help people struggling with bloating, reflux, and uncomfortable digestive distress by using nutritional science, tailored dietary strategies, and evidence-based supplementation. Gotta go.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, it just is different, right? It's just different.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as connected. That's great. Okay, so now let's say it again, and we're going to imagine that there's somebody at the market that you've kind of known from a distance, and you really want them to be your friend, and you haven't really ever kind of taken the risk and asked them over for dinner, and you're getting ready for this dinner party, and you're like, you know what, we're having a dinner party, and I want this person to join me. So a little bit of nerves, but also, they're a cool person. You want to hang out with them and they're really nice. So now imagine that. Got your basket full of groceries. It's starting to get a little heavy, but this person's awesome and you want to hang out with them. Now say the script.
I help people struggling with bloating, reflux, and uncomfortable digestive distress by using nutrition science, tailored dietary strategies, and evidence-based supplementation.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for playing along, Amy. Did you notice anything? Did you make any discoveries about how to say the words in a way that you liked or didn't like?
I'm not sure about, I'm really aware of the difference in my body, envisioning different scenarios. That was a really neat exercise. Like I don't, I've never done that before of visualizing different scenarios. I've done like breath, playing with my breath or just movement before speaking. Um, but I find it, I'm not sure about how I like pronounced or emphasized different words. I think I'd have to watch this, but having a visual, I think is a really interesting tool that I'll definitely play with. I can feel the difference. Neat.
That's so awesome. And I'm so glad you said, I think I'll have to watch this, because that is actually part of this process. We do have to watch ourselves in the recordings that we make and see, do we like how it landed when I did it this way? Do we like how it landed when I did it this way? And you might be surprised when you play with it with different imaginary circumstances or different memory circumstances. It lands differently, and you can just pick which one you like the best. And sometimes you can edit together half and half and make it feel like you. So thank you for playing along, Amy. You are officially graduated from mini improv class today.
Awesome. Thank you.
For
Thanks for
being
making this fun.
thanks for being a good sport. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully this gives you all some ideas. So if you really get tongue-tied or scared when you're trying to think of, I have to say the words right, sometimes playing like this can be really fun and just make the language feel more connected. So what we did was you could use a memory. Think about that fun time on vacation. What did it feel like? What did the water feel like? What did the sunshine feel like? What was the temperature? Think about and maybe even potentially wear your favorite article of clothing that's just really soft and comfortable. That time that you were really good at something, like you tried to climb a rope and you were like, you just climbed the rope or something and you felt amazing. Like, what did that feel like? Or that time that you passed the CNS exam, what did that feel like? That was awesome. So, think about a time that you just had a big win, and what did that feel like in your body? Think about that time you felt really loved by family or friends or partner, and what happened, and think through the beats of that, and then bring that energy to what you're saying in your get to know me videos for social media. And maybe some time that you surprised yourself, or some time that you ate an amazing meal and it was so delicious, a beautiful place when you met one of the favorite people in your life, that moment that you met them and you knew this is going to be my friend or my partner. Any kind of light bulb moments, basically anything that lights you up. Think about that memory and hold that memory in your body, and get grounded, take a breath, and then say, I'm going to help you with your constipation. And it's just going to feel so much more connected. I promise. It's going to feel so much more connected, and it's not going to feel so talking head and stylized. So another fun tool other than memory is as if, playing as if, not like if you're all elder millennials or Gen X, we're not quite in clueless territory here, but play it like you're speaking to your child and they fell down. Play it like that. Does that change it? Play it like they're your best friend and you're at brunch. Play it like they are your favorite fifth grade teacher and you just ran into them at yoga. So I gave you a whole list of fun scenarios here that you could take your script or your outline and then play with it. And how does that change the delivery? You might be surprised what you discover and find. This might feel very silly, but I promise it will lead to discoveries, and you'll get, tape, you'll get a recording that you're like, wow, that is really what I wanted it to be. And I didn't know that playing with it this way was going to get it to what I wanted it to be like. So these are just some fun ways to play with language where you don't have to think about, am I breathing right? Am I saying it right? Should I put emphasis on a different syllable? If that's getting in your head too much, play with memory, play with as if, And that's going to get you in your body and help the language feel so much more connected. It's really also fun. So it can be a fun game that you play also as a party game sometime with friends. So by doing that, you'll change, playing with intention, you're going to change your breath. It will impact timing and impact intonation in a nice, natural, authentic, and connected way. So hopefully that is just a fun tool to think about when you're recording your social media videos, especially. Does it change if you play it like you're speaking to somebody you absolutely love so much, or somebody that you want to love you, you want them to love you, or somebody that you care for, or just that you're excited about, like your favorite sandwich? That's also totally fine to play with too. So any questions about any of that before we start talking about production tools? Okay, hopefully this is kind of fun. Good August summertime webinar, hopefully. So the production. Think about your background. So I have two pictures of people here, and in our top picture, this person is filming with a background that has nothing in it. When I see a lot of people who are new to video production who think having a completely empty background is the way to go because it makes it look like you're in a studio or something kind of space. You're missing opportunity to tell a story. Your background can have elements of story, elements of what makes you you. I have a lot of plants. I'm obsessed with plants. Plants are my friends. I fully own that. They are here. And I have artwork from places that are really meaningful to me and colors that I love. And so what might be in your background that represents you in a way that you feel good about? Also notice that I have placed art so that it is not directly on top of my head. I don't have accidental bunny ears or anything like that. So think about how you can place your artwork or whatever's behind you to help inform. This is all part of your storytelling. It's all in the frame. When you're on a set and you're filming like a TV show or movie, there are people who literally are constantly coming in once they set up the frame, and they're like moving pictures so that it's in a better spot, or they're like moving stuff so that the frame gets filled, because every inch of the frame is storytelling. That's something that I think is really valuable to know. After watching at least 50 videos on health profs recently, because I was doing research for this, I found the most common things that people have behind them are their degrees, certifications in a frame, a bookshelf of some kind with books on it, plants, and then wood. There was a lot of wood and like very neutral art. So all of those things seem to be very much the vibe with our industry. Make them your own, have your own spin on them, but definitely don't go neutral, totally nothing in the background. So let's talk about lighting. I love talking about lighting. Lighting was one of my favorite parts of working as a director. And so these are two really lovely examples of good lighting. There are some people who argue that good sound is what makes or breaks a video. I'm going to make the argument that it is good lighting. And so this is going to get technical, but I think you guys are going to have some fun. So you can see how they are beautifully lit. These are not being lit by an LED ring light. They have dimensionality to them. And you can see that there's a main light source coming from the side. For her, it's coming kind of from the side and the top. And there's also a little bit of what we call fill light here. And when you have a nice bright background like this, that whole wall is reflecting light, and that's a backlight. And so when we're actually filming, in professional lighting, we call it a 3-corner lighting setup, basically. And there's usually 3 sources of light that surround the subject. Typically, there's a key light. The key light is the brightest source of light. And then there's some kind of side light, and then some kind of back-ish light that's filling in. This does not mean you need to have 3 lights aimed at your face and your head. That is not what we're going for. We're going to talk about how to get creative with this. If you want to set yourself apart from everybody with the ring lights that are just kind of like blowing them out and just making everybody like really blown out, and that we can see reflected in people's glasses sometimes. That totally works in a pinch. It's totally fine. Don't get me wrong, but we've got more options and you can soften that down. So the kind of like tips and tricks of how to make lighting just feel so much more polished and professional and get that beautiful like dimensionality with lighting is to use diffusion. So right now I am sitting next to a window and there's a big white curtain in front of the window. When I move the curtain out of the way, do you see how sharper the light gets on my face? Whereas when I bring the curtain back, the light gets nicely diffused and it's not quite as drastic. Then also, I do have another light. It's just a reading light that's actually right over here as my fill light, and it's really backed off. It's not right in my face, because if it was right in my face, it's going to be way too bright. I don't have any light sources behind me, but I do have a white wall, and that's providing some bounce. I want you to learn how to play with lights and lighting sources that you have. You don't need to buy fancy equipment. You can use your windows, have a white curtain in the way. You can use, if you already have an LED light, like for example, welcome to props time, lots of props. So this is also an LED light, like in the picture. It goes on a stand and it's really, really, really bright. You can also adjust the color temperature of this so it can be warmer or cooler. When we film with this, I usually really back it off so it's really far away from the subject, or I've even thrown a sheet over it, a white sheet, to just kind of have it not be so bright, so hot. And even if it's dimmed, it's still going to have a sharp quality to the light. Whereas if you throw a sheet over it, like a white sheet over it, it's going to diffuse the light and make it a lot softer. So if you've ever had professional photos taken, or if you've seen photos setups, you've seen these diffusion boxes. This is a diffuser, so there's a nice bright light in there, and then we put on just a little bit of diffusion to help soften the light. That's what we're talking about here, is trying to soften that light. So curtain, cover lights with, not long-term because you don't want to start a fire, but cover lights temporarily with some kind of fabric just to diffuse the light. The other thing that you can play with is bouncing light. And this is like the dollar store version of making professional lighting. So this is really fun. So for example, I went and found in our closet this old box, and it's just a white cardboard box. So I want you to see what my face looks like without the box next to it. And now I'm bouncing light to my face. So see how the side of my face gets a little bit brighter when I bounce the light. It's a little subtle, but light bounces off the box. You can put the box on a chair and you can just place it a little bit further away from you, but that's going to serve as essentially one of your three corners of lighting. Bouncing light is going to keep the light soft, and it's going to keep it so that the light really kind of wraps around your features instead of like being harsh and having harsh angles. So sometimes you get more from actually taking a lamp. Here's an example. This is like a little clip light that you can get it. I think we got it from IKEA. And so you can literally just like take your light and then angle it at your bounce source, and it will bounce the light, and the light, and if your subject is over here, the light hitting the subject is going to be much more lovely than if the light is just facing your subject. So something like this, you're going to want to bounce the light off of something. The light looks so much more beautiful and soft, and it's going to look a lot more professional. We typically want the intensity, the amount of light, the brightness of light to be brighter on one side of the face than the other, just slightly, just a little bit. It just creates a little bit more of a natural softness. And if you look at paintings, old paintings and stuff like that, you often see that there's like a very specific source of light. So think about that with your videos too. This gets really in the weeds a little bit, but it's really fun, and it can make your videos look so much more professional and polished, and it can make you look more like a real human rather than like a blown out social media person. So the lighting piece is really fun, and get creative. You can use in terms of what you can bounce with, like a white sheet or a towel. Literally, I have taken a chair right here, and you can't see it when I'm filming, and then I just like put a big piece of like white cardboard on it. You can buy these bounce tools. They're not expensive. You don't need it because you can just buy a white sheet, but this is what we use on like a film set to bounce light. And usually you just clip it somewhere and you can see, I think you can see that it just like will change the light. Anyway, very subtle, but it makes a big difference. You can also have an assistant to hold up something to bounce light. It's really important that you match color temperature, because sometimes if you have like 3 lights angled at you, one is a warm light bulb, 2 are cold light bulbs, you're going to look sick. The colors are going to mix in a weird way. So you want all the light bulbs to be the same color temperature. You can also use tissue paper to diffuse light as well. So a few sound tips, and then we're almost at the end. So anytime you've ever moved into a new home, like a new house or apartment, and you don't have any furniture in there yet, you haven't put your rugs down, it's really loud. The sound's really sharp and loud, and that you have that empty room loud quality. So sometimes even with any kind of microphone that you're using, or even if you're using your computer microphone, make sure you've got a carpet under you. Put down a towel if you don't have a carpet. It helps absorb that sound, and it will make your sound not be quite so harsh. Your P's won't kind of pop too harshly. If you have some kind of textured material that's soft, you can literally put it just below the camera. You can put it under, if you have a microphone, you can put it under your microphone. So using some kind of soft fabric, that's the other reason to have curtains right next to you. Also, that helps absorb the sound. We actually want to help sound absorb and not bounce. It's the opposite of what we want to do with light. And that will help sound just feel a lot more connected in your videos as well. Again, you don't need fancy equipment. You can just throw down a towel or blankets or anything like that, and that will really help with sound. If you're recording more videos more frequently, you might want to invest in a good microphone. I'm just using my computer today. For webinars, I think that's actually totally fine. But if you're recording get to know me social media videos, you probably want to get some kind of microphone. So this is a little microphone that literally just goes right into my phone. It's unidirectional, which means it will point right at my mouth when I'm talking. That's all we need. We just need something that points right at our mouth. And we ideally don't want to have like the whole headpiece thing in a social media video, because that just, it makes you feel a little bit more like part robot instead of fully human. If you're filming outside, if you ever want to film your stuff outside, which is the best light that exists, is just filming outside. You don't have to do anything if you film outside. You do need to cover your microphone with some kind of sock. You can literally use a sock, or some of them come with like a little wind sock that helps with wind noise. You don't need to spend a lot of money on this kind of equipment. I think you can get a good microphone for under $100, and try to keep it out of frame if you can. One other microphone example, we have a DSLR rig, and this is a mic, again, unidirectional, so it's pointed right at the speaker, and it's really only getting sound that's right directly coming in front of it, so it's not going to get a ton of sound back here. And this sits, literally our rig has this with the ring light, and then that's how we capture our videos. Again, you don't need that. You can use your computer microphone or your phone microphone. And that's sound. So a few other recording tips. Your phone has a better camera than your computer by far. It also has a better microphone by far. So I would recommend filming with your phone and then either editing on your phone or transferring to your computer to edit. You want to stabilize with some kind of tripod, or you can use books and just kind of put it on a bookshelf and make sure it's sturdy and that you're not getting, some kind of handheld, what was that movie with the Blair Witch Project? We don't want a Blair Witch Project, our get to know me videos. And so you can get some kind of, we call these gimbals, or like little tripods. So this is a little tripod, again, not expensive. Having some kind of clip where you can literally clip your phone right into the gimbal, and that should help with stabilizing your video. You can then hook your microphone right in there. It makes it super easy. These also, when you hold the gimbal, instead of holding your phone directly, the video is going to be much more stable. So if you do have to do handheld, which you might be doing like in the kitchen, kind of fun handheld stuff, that's fine. It works way better if you're holding a gimbal than holding your phone directly. And a reminder to film vertically for social media. It kills my creative soul that we all have to film vertically now, because it was like everything for me cinematically, horizontal is the way to go. But for social media, we definitely want to film vertically. And it's just going to make your video not stand out for the wrong reasons. If you're filming, we don't want to film horizontally because it's just not the tone anymore on social media. And then some quick editing tips. I think editing sometimes is, if you're going to just kind of source something out, the easy button is hire someone on Fiverr to edit your 20-second get to know me video. You can also use Canva or other apps for online short video editing, like Biteable, iMovie, Vimeo, CapCut. DaVinci Resolve is free. It's a lot harder to use, but there's so many YouTube videos about how to use these editors that you can probably figure it out. TikTok's editor is fantastic. It is amazing what you can do in their internal editor. It's amazing compared to what even 15 years ago we were using a lot of labor to be able to do. And again, just if you're like, I don't want to deal with any of this, you don't need to have fancy editing for your videos. Have it be lit well, have it be you, play with how you're speaking, and hire someone on Fiverr for like $50 to just cut your video and upload it for you. So hopefully that saves you some time. So tying it all together, hopefully this helps you have some ideas of how to play with this. Have an objective, play with your intention, be you, be lit really, really well. It really makes a difference, and have fun with this. And I think it's, this is all to the end to help you find people whose lives you're going to change. Every single one of you knows how to do that. And it's so important that they find you. And so that's why it's worth putting yourself out there and doing this. So I want to thank you all for your time. I want to make sure if you do have any questions, I will happily stay around and answer questions. Just a shameless plug, Clinicians Incubator, we are accepting applications. We're full for September, but we are accepting applications for January. And we do have a new health coaching certification program launching in September. If you also just have any random questions about anything, about filming videos, anything like that, email me. I'm happy to meet with you for a few minutes. We can chat just for fun. I always love meeting more CNSs just to help build our community. And I thank you all for indulging me talking about one of my favorite topics. So thank you.
Thank you, Alyson. This was great. So it doesn't look like any other questions. I did put the CE survey in the chat, so please, if you're a CNS, make sure you complete that to get your CEs for today's presentation. We will send out the slides and the recording probably tomorrow or early next week, and it will also be on the website. And please make sure to check out the upcoming CNS Connect webinars. We have several more this month and into next month. So thank you again, Alyson. This was wonderful.
Yeah, and thank you, Amy, volunteer.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
So
I was
cool
afraid I was gonna have to volunteer. I was glad that the other Amy did that, so I didn't have to.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your summer. And we will see you soon on CNS Connect webinars.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.